Well, I decided to make Bitcoin the foundation of my investment strategy. Let's talk about why. Welcome back to the Journey of Finance. My name is Cedric, and here on this channel, we talk about how to achieve financial independence and also retire early if that's what you're into. And I'm also sharing my journey on the road to FI as well. So if that is something that you're into and you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel and click that notification bell for weekly videos that will help you to level up on your finances. So if you find any value in this video, be sure to hit that like button as it really helps out the channel, and I would love to grow this community together. Now, I have to be very honest with you. The way that I look at money and investing and financial independence has really been just changing over the past year, and I would say changing for the better. I have been learning so much and really just growing in how I see the financial markets and economics, and also the new revolution of finances and decentralization that has been just blowing my mind. And I've been putting hours upon hours of research over the past 6 months on really trying to wrap my head around what's going on. So for the longest time, I've been following some of the more traditional ways of building my financial portfolio, and that is to spend less, invest the rest, and keep my money in some of the more tried and true ways of investing, like in stocks or index funds, ETFs, and real estate. Now, these methods have stood the test of time and has created so much wealth for many generations. Now, to be clear, I think that all of these traditional methods are still valid and is still an important part of my portfolio, but I think that there is a newer technology that is quickly emerging and being adopted by many people and institutions as another means of preserving and generating wealth, and that is Bitcoin. And in this video, I'm going to be sharing why considering Bitcoin as an overall part of your portfolio will be crucial to you hedging against inflation, preserving wealth, and also growing it. Inflation, the silent killer. Now, we all know what inflation is. It's the rise in prices that negatively impacts the purchasing power of our currency. Your dollar today can only purchase a fraction of what it could 10, 20, and 30 years ago. Now, we're all accustomed to goods and services and the things that we normally buy around us going up in price over time, but sometimes I think we forget to realize that the value of our dollar stays the same. So really, it's like we're losing money. So what can we do to combat inflation? Well, we need to find some ways to hedge against inflation. For many financially savvy people, for decades have used gold as a way to hedge against inflation, and for good reason. It holds its value really well, it's not really easily susceptible to corrosion, and also it can only increase in supply 1 to 2% a year, which means the market won't be overflooded with gold at any given time, devaluing the asset. So this has made gold a reliable store of value for many years, and this is what many people, even to today, likes to keep their money in because they feel like it's a good hedge against inflation. But if you look at gold's performance, especially over the past decade, it tells a different story. It hasn't really done a really good job with keeping up with inflation, let alone outpacing it. So is there something comparable to gold as a hedge against inflation, and that could even possibly outperform inflation by miles? Let's find out. So as we take a macro level look at our personal finances, we need to ask ourselves 2 questions. Number 1, how do I preserve my wealth? AKA, how do I break even with inflation at the very least? And number 2, how do I grow my wealth? In other words, how do I invest my money? Some of the best ways historically to beat inflation, as I mentioned, would be gold, but also people would use real estate as a good hedge against inflation because of the way that real estate traditionally appreciates and goes up in value. So if you put your money and your wealth into property, that property will increase over time and it would keep up with inflation at the very least, but many times it would outperform inflation. And you have a hard asset that you own. Another way to hedge against inflation historically has been to put it in the stock market, and it's still a good way to hedge against inflation. It just really depends on the instruments that you choose, but you can put your money into individual stocks or index funds that will outperform inflation, or you can historically put your money into bonds, but that is not a good way to hedge against inflation today. So to give an example of this, if your stock asset performed 12% this year, but inflation was 3%, then your true return would be about 9%. So not only did you preserve your wealth, but you also grew it by 9% if you consider inflation. So considering the other hedges of inflation, why are many financially savvy people and retail investors as well as institutions, why are they turning to Bitcoin, especially within the past 2 years? Well, the answer is simple. Bitcoin has proven itself to be the ultimate store of value, and it's sort of like digital gold. As a matter of fact, you'll hear a lot of people reference it as digital gold or gold 2.0, if you will. It's decentralized, secure, virtually unhackable, and it's scarce. So this, by all metrics, makes it much better than gold, in my opinion. Bitcoin's performance has been absolutely mind-blowing ever since its inception 12 years ago. If you look at the 10-year performance, Bitcoin has returned over 10,000%. What? That's insane. Now, 10 years ago, Bitcoin also wasn't mainstream, and people like you and me likely didn't even hear of it. You can see the performance of Bitcoin as far as appreciating as an asset class has been phenomenal. So a couple of things about Bitcoin. Bitcoin has outperformed inflation tremendously year over year, and it will continue to do so, which will make it a great place to be able to not only preserve your wealth, but you're also going to get the appreciation of your capital that you put into it. Even in the future, as Bitcoin becomes less volatile and there's going to be more institutional adoption, it's still going to outpace inflation and is still going to be a great place to grow your wealth. Bitcoin is a pristine asset that can be used as a currency, but I think more people are adopting it as more so a store of value. And one of the reasons for this is because, for example, in the US, the IRS classifies Bitcoin as an asset or as property. And so the way that the IRS handles Bitcoin is not as a currency, which doesn't get taxed whenever you have transactions with currency, but with property and assets, you do get taxed whenever you use it to purchase something. So if you use Bitcoin to purchase, say, for example, a Tesla or a car, you're triggering a taxable event. So you have to pay taxes on the amount that you use as currency. A lot of people, including myself, we're looking at it as more of a store of value where you could put your money knowing that your money is gonna be preserved, but it's also gonna grow over time. So in that way, it's very similar to owning real estate. A lot of people use it as a store of value, and it's a way that they preserve their wealth in actual physical property, whereas this is digital property that you can just park your money and preserve it there. Now, one of the things that I absolutely love about Bitcoin, which makes this invention absolutely genius, is the fact that it is deflationary. It's deflationary by nature because there's only a certain amount of Bitcoin that will ever be mined. And every year you have a certain amount of Bitcoin that comes into circulation. And then every 4 years after that, that gets cut down in half. And so every 4 years, the amount of Bitcoin that would be mined is getting cut down in half until all of the 21 million Bitcoin that will ever be mined gets finished. So because of the scarce nature of it, whatever Bitcoin is worth now, over time will be worth more. So as the value of the US dollar gets weaker over time due to inflation, the value of Bitcoin will increase because it's deflationary. Let's just take this super simple hypothetical example. Let's say you use your Bitcoin as currency. This is how the deflationary nature works, and it's absolutely brilliant. Let's just say you wanted to purchase a $5 pizza with your Bitcoin. So however many Bitcoin or a fraction of a Bitcoin you need, or Satoshis in this example, however many Satoshis you need to purchase this $5 pizza at the time, in 10 years, you would need far less Satoshi to purchase the same amount of pizza, that $5 pizza. Now, there are many other reasons why Bitcoin is such an awesome asset to hold as not only a hedge against inflation, but as part of your investment strategy. And we'll get into that in future videos, but just know that a lot of people are really starting to see the value of what Bitcoin is and what it can do, not only to the value of their portfolio now, but what it can do in 5, 10, 20 years as there's more worldwide adoption of this asset class. So why am I making Bitcoin the foundation of my financial strategy? Well, I just want to make it clear that first of all, I'm not saying that I'm going 100% all in on Bitcoin or crypto and neglecting everything else like some of the other traditional means of investing. I'm not saying that at all, but what I am saying is I am really seeing the value of what Bitcoin can do and what it can be as compared to some of the other traditional methods that I've been following. And I'm really rethinking how I want to structure my finances moving forward. And Bitcoin Bitcoin is going to be the foundation of my strategy because I can see what it does and I can see how this can help me to hedge against inflation. And not only that, but how it can be a pivotal part in growing my wealth. And so that's why I'm going to make Bitcoin the foundation upon which I build all of my other investments on. So really, I think one of the most important parts of my financial portfolio at this point will be Bitcoin. And that is why Bitcoin is the foundation of my financial strategy. I hope you found value in this video, and if you haven't already, definitely hit that like button as it does help out the channel and it lets me know that you're enjoying the content. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and click that notification bell for weekly uploads on videos on personal finance and achieving financial independence. I want to hear from you. What do you think about my thoughts on Bitcoin as the foundation of my financial strategy? Do you agree? Do you have a different perspective? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. All right, we'll see you in the next video. Take care and peace.